Today we're going to review photosynthesis really quickly before we get into cellular respiration. Now remember, photosynthesis is a process where autotrophs, we also call them producers, they use the sun's energy to make food inside their bodies. This happens in an organelle or structure inside of plant cells called the chloroplast. Now remember, for photosynthesis to happen, a plant or producer needs three reactants, or three things. They need carbon dioxide, water, and light energy. Then they will produce these products of oxygen and then their food, which is glucose, a type of sugar. Now I need you to drag and drop the terms underneath these reactants and products. So carbon dioxide is represented by CO2, and the producer needs 6 carbon dioxide molecules. Water is represented by H2O, and the producer needs 6 water molecules. They also need light energy. So anything on the left side of the arrow are the reactants. Those are the things that are needed. Anything on the right side of the arrow are the products. Those are the things that are made. So oxygen is represented by O2, and the producer will make 6 oxygen molecules, and then they'll make their food, which is made up of carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens in this way, C6H12O6. So this is how producers or autotrophs make food inside their bodies. Now that we know how photosynthesis works and how organisms make food in their bodies, we have to take a look at what happens with that food. Now, no matter how organisms get the food, whether they do photosynthesis and make food in their bodies or they eat other organisms to get energy, everybody has to do cellular respiration. So no matter how they got their food, now we have to do cellular respiration. And what's cellular respiration? We're just breaking down our food using oxygen to get the energy out of our food. Now, since oxygen is needed, this is an aerobic process. So my memory clue here is the AER, sounds like air, that means oxygen. So cellular respiration needs oxygen in order to break down food for energy. This happens inside of the cells in a structure called the mitochondria. Now here's a plant cell. I know it's a plant cell because it's boxy, and here's an animal cell. I know it's animal cell because it's circular. Now if you see, these different colors and structures are called organelles, and each one does a different thing for the cell. Now these green things right here, these green ovals, are the chloroplasts, and that's what helps with photosynthesis, and you can see it's only in plants. But the orange structures, orange organelles, I see them in both plants and animals. That's the mitochondria, and that's where cellular respiration occurs. That's the organelle that helps to break down food using oxygen to get energy out of our food. So let's take a look at the equation for cellular respiration. Remember, the reactants are things that are needed for this process to occur, and the products are what's made. Now, in order to do cellular respiration, which is breaking down our food using oxygen, we need those two things. We need oxygen and food. And now here we have food being represented by glucose, which is a type of sugar. This should be familiar in our photosynthesis equation, where this is the type of sugar that plants make inside of their bodies. What is made when glucose and oxygen are put together? Well, organisms will release carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Now here is a different type of energy that we're seeing, which is ATP energy. Now how do we represent oxygen? It's O2, that means 2 oxygen atoms are put together, and we need 6 oxygen molecules. We need our food, our glucose, so C6H12O6. Putting that together will yield to or lead to making carbon dioxide, CO2, but we need 6 carbon dioxide. We also will make water, H2O. We're going to make 6 water molecules, and then we're going to release ATP energy. What's ATP energy? Well, ATP energy is the type of energy that our cells use in order to do anything. whether it's to move molecules, to make things, to communicate to other cells. No matter what the cells need to do, they need ATP to help them do those activities. So my memory clue for you is think ATP energy. ATP is a type of energy that our cells use. Now taking a look at this equation for cellular respiration, okay, and compare it to the photosynthesis equation at the beginning of the notes. And I wonder what you see when you compare this equation for photosynthesis and the cellular respiration equation. With these two equations, you should see that they're kind of reversed. So the photosynthesis equation is basically the opposite of the cellular respiration equation. So that's why we say photosynthesis and cellular respiration are opposite processes. Let's take a look at this table to further show how they're opposite processes. So for photosynthesis, what does that process do with light energy? Well, what it does is it takes in that energy in order to make food. Well, how is that opposite from cellular respiration? In cellular respiration, we're not taking in energy, we're taking energy out of our food. Let's take a look at the equation for photosynthesis and fill these two boxes out. Remember, reactants are what's needed. What are the three things that a producer needs in order to do photosynthesis? They need carbon dioxide, water, and energy, specifically light energy. These things are on the left side of that photosynthesis equation arrow. What are the products? What's made when organisms that do photosynthesis put these three reactants together? They make glucose and oxygen. They make their food in the form of this sugar and oxygen. That would be on the right side of the arrow. Let's take a look at cellular respiration and the equations. So what is needed for all organisms, not just animals, but plants too, in order to break down their food for energy? Well, they need their food plus oxygen. Because remember, cellular respiration is an aerobic process, so oxygen is needed, and glucose is the food. Okay, what is made when we put glucose and oxygen together? We will release water, carbon dioxide, and energy, specifically ATP energy. Now, if you see these four boxes, you can see that the reactants for photosynthesis are the same as the products for cellular respiration, and the reactants for cellular respiration are the same as the products for photosynthesis. So they're opposite processes. If you know the equation for photosynthesis, all you need to do is flip it around and you'll get the equation for cellular respiration. So now the next one, photosynthesis takes place in this organelle. So which structure in the cell does photosynthesis occur in? It happens in the chloroplast. What about cellular respiration? It happens in the mitochondria. And then the last two boxes is it says photosynthesis occurs in this organism. So that just means which organisms can do photosynthesis? Only autotrophs. They're the ones that have those chloroplasts in their cells, and they can do photosynthesis. They can make food in their bodies. Okay. What about cellular respiration? Remember, no matter how organisms got the food, whether they're autotrophs and they made food in their bodies, or they're heterotrophs and they ate another organism, all living things need to do cellular respiration. All autotrophs and heterotrophs have mitochondria to do this.